Hey, what's good? It's Cadillaktrackz. I'm here with my custom MK3 template. I've been wanting to make this video here for everybody who's purchased the template so far and anybody who's considering it. I want to go over all the functions on the template so that everyone has a clear understanding on how to use the template in depth. I haven't made a video going over it like this, and I want to make sure that everybody knows all the functions that are available on the template so that everybody's using and utilizing the template, to its maximum potential. The template right here is all blue, as you can see. This is Fruity Loops that's open right here. So I'm going to go ahead and go over the template. This is going to be a quick 30-minute overview. And just bear with me. If you have the template already, make sure that you check this out so that you can make sure that you're using the template to its maximum potential, that you have an understanding of all the functions. It's very important. So this is the custom MK3 template. I sell it. It's for $20. It took me a long time to set up, and it has a lot of functions. I'm going to go over them real quick. When you buy the template, it's going to come with three main things. When you buy the template, the first thing it's going to come with is a Fruity Loops Studio template. It's going to look like this. This is the Fruity Loops Studio template. As you can see right there, it says Cadillak's Fruity Loops Studio template. It has 8 channels. This first one, I just loaded up this Nexus plugin. I'm going to use it for some demonstrations of how to use my template today. It comes with these 8 channels that are going to be blank for you, and it's also going to come with the Maschine VST attached. The second thing that comes with it is the Maschine template. So it comes with a Fruity Loops Studio template and also a Maschine template. The Maschine template looks like this. It has a channel or a group for drum kits. It has a group for effects or samples or whatever you might like to put there. And it has a third group for perform effects. That's to utilize the perform effects that come on Maschine MK3. The second thing that you get is this Maschine template, and the third thing that you get, let me just, I guess I closed the screen. The third thing that you get is you're going to get the controller editor template. This is the controller editor template. This template has all the functions specified and laid out and mapped. A lot of people ask me, can I use the template on the Studio or the Micro? And if you click right here on the controller editor, you can actually open up different controllers. You can see that the Micro, the Studio right here, it has different buttons like these, and these, and these over here. If I was going to set it up, I might have set it up different on the Studio, being that it has a different layout. And that's something that you can do once you have the template. You'll have the functions all specified, and you can start to specify where you would like those functions to be available on your controller. Now, going back to the template, we're going to go over the template one by one. So the three things you get are the controller editor, you get the Maschine template, and you also get the Fruity Loops Studio template, and they're all working together to give you total control. When I hit the shift button and I push the MIDI, it actually switches back into the regular Maschine mode. So this is regular Maschine mode. When I push shift and I go to MIDI, it switches over to my template mode. So the first thing we're going to go over here is the transport functions, the play, stop, record, and these functions. This is the play button right here. When I push play, as you can see, the player starts on Fruity Loops. Okay, let me go ahead and just turn the metronome on so everybody can hear. When I push stop, it stops right there. So when I push stop, it actually stops the clock. When I push play again, it starts from the beginning. When I push stop, it stops it. If I want to pick up from where I last left off, or I want to pick up from right there, I can use the restart button. The restart button, when I restart it, you can see it restarts the clock. I can push stop and I can stop the clock. I can push play to bring it back from the beginning if I like. These are the transport control buttons. We also have the record button right here. When I push record, it automates and it turns on and it arms Fruity Loops to record. So I can turn it on and off. And I like to keep this on right here, the 3, 2, 1. That gives me the quick little countdown before I record, 3, 2, 1, so that I can get prepared or get my fingers on the keys on the piano or whatever I might be doing. Alright, so we also have this button right here, which is the erase button. This erase button and this mute button are the same function. They both erase notes that have been recorded or whatever's selected. So whatever you have selected, if you hit the erase or mute button, it will erase that. I'm going to go ahead and show you an example using the VST that I loaded in on this channel right here. This is going to be Nexus. So I'm going to go ahead and record some notes. I'm going to push record. And you can see it recorded those notes right there. Let's say I didn't like those notes and I wanted to quickly re-record it. I can go ahead and I can push the mute button right here. It's going to go ahead and it's going to delete those notes. I'm going to actually undo that real quick for y'all. And I'm going to show you also, if I push the erase button, it's going to erase those notes right there. So if I'm recording, I can quickly push record. I can record something. If I messed up, I can quickly just erase it and just let it loop and record it again, or just try it again quickly, just using these functions very fast. Alright. These right here are the different octave buttons. I have the minor scales and every key mapped out. As you can see, all the pads are blue. Every other octave is turquoise. It's kind of like Machine's scale mode, but it's in MIDI mode, so it's universal. It can be used in Fruity Loops. It can be used in any DAW that you're playing. Anytime you want an instrument where you can play the minor scales or you can play in scale like a professional, you can use my template to do that. It can actually make you a better producer if you're not familiar with scales. Anyway, these are the different octaves. I can switch between the low octave and a high octave. It's 4 octaves. It's all the way down from -1 all the way up to 7. So you can see in the negative notes, it's very low. You can barely hear it. Going all the way up to the top of the scale. This is how you switch octaves. This right here is the modulation wheel. The modulation wheel will link up to any VST that you have open. It's the universal modulation control. Every VST is different. Some will link up automatically. If it doesn't link up automatically, you need to know how to do that. This is Nexus, for example. Nexus has a section right here which is mod. If you click right here on the mod section, you can see that the source right here is going to be the modulation wheel. I went ahead and selected that. And every plugin, if you click on the top left, it'll bring up this browse parameters function. Once the browse parameter function's open, you always scroll down to MIDI CC number 1, which is always the modulation wheel for any VST or plugin. You can right click that, link to controller. Once that's specified, you can touch the modulation wheel and it'll link up. Mine's already linked up in the template, but that'll be for any new plugin that you want to introduce. All you would do is right click up here and bring up the browse presets and go to the modulation and link it. Once it's linked up, you can modulate, you know. For example, if I'm playing these notes, let me go ahead and so that's the modulation wheel. It's a very modulation touch strip. It's good. It's very important. It's a very crucial feature in the template to be able to modulate any VST like that. This right here is the jog wheel knob. This is a very important function. The jog wheel, it does so much with the template. It's actually one of the most important features of the template is the jog wheel. The jog wheel can browse through and navigate samples inside of your Fruity Loops. For example, this is my browser right here. I'm going to go ahead into the browser, and once the browser has been selected, I clicked on the browser and I open the browser to select samples. I can actually move the knob, and I can use the knob to browse through my sound banks and to pick samples. Once I have one, I can push down on the knob and I can open that folder. Then I can go into that folder and I can open up subfolders, and I can go through sounds that way. If I like a sound and I click on it, it will load up the sound into whatever channel is selected on the right. So it loads up sounds and it navigates through folders. I can also close the folder by clicking left on it, and you can see that I'm closing the folder. So I'm actually browsing and I have full control over navigating through the computer using this knob. Alright, I went ahead and I played a loop. Now, there's 2 knobs. This is one jog knob, and there's the second jog knob right here. As you can see, I have a lot of different drum kits. So the second jog knob, it jogs very fast. It jogs a lot faster. This one right here will click and go through one by one. It's very good for picking out presets. If you have a big folder and you want to go through it fast, the second jog knob is the better option. It goes through and it scrolls very fast. So we have 2 jog scroll knobs. The jog knobs will do different functions on different screens. When I have the browser selected, you can see that I was able to navigate through the browser. When I have the channel rack selected like this, and I hit the jog knob, I can see that it starts to pick different channels. So I can select which channel I'm highlighting. Okay. When I have the playlist open and I move the jog knob, if I move the big one, you can see all it does is it scrolls through the time. But if I move the small jog knob when the playlist is open, it zooms in and out of the playlist. Okay. So once again, different functions for different screens. Okay. If I have the piano roll open and I switch and I hit the jog knob, you can see that it actually jogging up and down or scrolling up and down the piano roll. You see the little scroll bar right here, scrolling up and down the piano roll using the second jog knob. Alright. Like on the mixer, if I'm on the mixer, if I hit the second jog knob, it just moves through the time again. But if I hit the first jog knob on the mixer, you can see it specifies which channel is selected in the mixer. So once again, the jog knob, it browses through and it can do a lot of stuff. It actually does a little bit more. I'm going to show you here too. Alright. We also have these functions right here. This is the file save button, the settings button. I have a browser plugin, arranger, mixer, and the plugin instance button. So we're going to go over these one by one. The file save button, as you can imagine, it saves the project. For example, this is the project right here. If I push the file save button, you can see that it went ahead and it saved the project. I already had it saved, so it went ahead and saved it again. The settings button right here, it opens up the Fruity Loops settings. So as you can see, when I push it right here, it opens up the Fruity Loops setting page. That way we can go in and we can adjust our MIDI settings, or we can go here and adjust the audio settings. I go here a lot sometimes when I want to give my computer more latency. I like to keep my latency low at about 2 milliseconds. A lot of people don't know what I'm talking about, but anyway. These buttons right here are buttons universally that link up to the machine. They allow you to tab through different pages. I have 4 pages for every key. 4 pages of settings. We're going to go over that. It's important that you know this, everyone that has the template so far. 4 different pages of settings. Each different page has different settings for the template. Alright, so you can see that we have page 3, 1, 2, 3, and then the blank page. So we're going to go over that real quick. This is the browser plugin button. When I push the browser plugin button, it brings up the browser plugin picker. I don't use this a lot because it's all mumble jumbled on mine, but you can actually specify which plugins pop up when you open up the browser plugger. Like down here, go to synthesizers. It pulls up all your synthesizers, and you can actually organize this to be pretty neat if you take the time to do so. They got YouTube videos on it. But this is the browser plugin picker. So if you like to use the plugin picker, I have a button right here dedicated to open the browser plugin picker. Alright, we have the arranger button. The arranger button simply opens up the playlist inside of Fruity Loops. Fruity Loops Arranger is the playlist. So the arranger button is a shortcut to open up the playlist. The mixer button right here. The mixer button, of course, it pops up the mixer. It's an easy button to access the mixer at any time. Very quick. The plugin instance button and also the channel effects button, which is this button right here. These buttons are the same, and they have a powerful function or a feature that they do. And what they do is they actually open up any plugins on a selected channel. So this is another one of the very powerful features on the template, you know, one of a kind. For example, let's say I go to this channel right here, channel 18, okay? And on channel 18, I put this parametric EQ, and I also put this lo-fi plugin as an example to show y'all something. So we have 2 plugins on this channel, right? If I go over here and I select channel 18, anytime you select the channel right here, it also selects that channel in the mixer. So anytime a channel is selected and you push the channel effects button, it's going to bring up the effects that are in that channel, all of them. So it's an easy way to access all of your effects on the channel by the push of a button. I pushed it once, it brought up the parametric EQ. I push it one more time, it brings up that secondary plugin, that lo-fi that I put on there. If I want to close these, I can use this button right here. I haven't got here yet, but I have an exit window button. It closes any window, so I'm just going to push that. It's going to close those. So I just showed you what the channel effects button does. Any channel selected, I selected channel 18. I started pushing the button, it brought up all the plugins on that channel. Very, very useful feature right there. Make sure that y'all are using that if you have the template. Alright, this right here is the main bread and butter of the template. It's the shortcut buttons, or the buttons that control most of the functions on Fruity Loops. Now I'm going to go over this. This is the playlist button. It opens the playlist at the push of a button. This is the rack button. It opens up the channel rack at the push of a button. This is the piano roll button. It opens up the piano roll at the push of a button. This is the mixer button. It opens up the mixer at the push of a button. This is the extra menus button. The extra menus brings up extra menus depending on what screen you're on. If I'm on this screen, which is the default screen, and I push it, it opens up this right here, which is the file menu, extra menus. When I get here, I can actually use my knob, and I can actually navigate with my knob. This is another one of the crazy useful features. So I just push that button and I can go over here. I could actually load a plugin up if I wanted to right now. But like I said, the knob will navigate, right? So that's the extra menus button. For example, if I have the channel rack open, I push the extra menus button. Excuse me. And I push the extra menus button. It's gonna well, not the channel rack, but let's say I have the piano roll. If I push the extra menus button when the piano roll is open, it brings up the extra menu for the piano roll, which is this menu, remember? It has all my settings, you know, the strum, da-da-da-da-da. I could actually use my little wheel again. Remember, you can use your wheel to navigate anytime, guys. So make sure you're using that function, utilizing it. Wherever the mouse is where it pops up that menu. So I push extra menu, and it pops up the little extra menu. Like I said, depending on what screen is selected or open, the extra menus will bring up extra menus for that screen. Alright, moving on to the next one, we have the maximize button. I use this one, I like this one a lot. Maximize maximizes any screen that's maximizable. And what I mean is, if a screen has a little square like this, it's maximizable. Meaning, if I push the maximize button, you can see that it shrinks and it maximizes that. I like to use it on certain plugins that are maximizable, like, for example, the parametric EQ. As you can see, it has a square. It's maximizable, so sometimes I have the parametric EQ open and I'll push it, and it'll cover the whole screen. I can see the frequencies a lot better. But like I said, any plugin that's maximizable, you can push that. And when I push it again, it goes ahead and it shrinks it. If I want to close it, I can use, remember, the next button right here is the exit window button. The exit window button. So it's a useful feature. Not every plugin is maximizable. For example, where I clicked on this lo-fi plugin, the lo-fi plugin doesn't have a maximize. So every plugin is not maximizable, but any one that is, we have the maximize button. It'll maximize any screen that's maximizable. It's real useful, so make sure y'all use that too. Alright, so we just went over this is page 1, and we just went over all the top buttons, and we're going to go down here. Right here we have the metro button, or the metronome button. I use this one a lot because I use the metronome. All you have to do is push down on it. It's touch sensitive. When you push down on it, it arms the metronome on and off. So turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. The metronome button is a very good button to, you know, put on your metronome. And going over that, I think I skipped a button, which was this one, the tap button. The tap button is how you tap out your tempo. I do that all the time. I like to tap the tempo out, but I know a lot of producers, they just sit down, they cook up a beat, and they never switch their tempo. So they have like 100 beats. The tempo is all the same. They sound different, but the tempo is the same because they're not used to really switching the tempo before they start. They just sit down and cook. But the tap button, all I do is tap on it, and as you can see, it switches the tempo to whatever I'm tapping. So it's actually tapping the tempo out, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it'll give me my tempo right here, you know, 131. So that's the metronome button, on and off, and we also have the tempo tap switch I just showed you. This is a very useful feature that I found. It's the snap button. A lot of people, this might help out, because a lot of people were asking me, how can I change the snap at the push of a button? I figured out a way to do it on my template. As you can see, all I do is I tap the snap button, and it's actually changing the snap. This can help a lot of people depending on how you program your beats out and how you sequence things. But I'm actually changing the snap with the push of a button. I like to leave mine online most of the time anyway, for this particular screen. Alright, so I'm going to the next one is tempo. Tempo, as you can see, when I move the tempo, it lets me set the tempo. So I can actually specify the tempo by moving or twisting the knob to where I want it to be. Like I said, we have another feature here, the tempo, the tap tempo, where I could go ahead and I can tap it out if I wanted to. Alright, next feature right here is the undo feature. The undo feature is very, very useful because you can undo. You know, for example, I'm going to go ahead into this piano right here. Now, let's say I have this piano and I lay down a nice little melody. Alright, so I lay down a nice little melody. If I wanted to undo or I didn't like something, what I used to do all the time was I would just, I got real good at this, I would just push Control Z, you know, and it undo one of them, and then if you hold Control Alt Z, it'll start to go through them. So you can see me deleting notes, and then I can bring them back, you know. I'm just pushing it like a robot. But anyway, this undo knob is very useful because it does the undo, and as you can see, as I twist it, it's very sensitive. It actually it'll undo notes one by one, and look how fast I'm undoing the notes right here, guys. That's fast. That's a feature you just can't do before. This is so good because I can undo stuff. These could be edits, automation, it could be anything, but you undo very quickly. You turn the knob, it undoes. If you want to bring it back, just turn the knob the other way. Very powerful undo function right there with the touch of a knob. This is the secondary jog wheel. Remember I showed y'all that it does different functions on different screens, remember? Remember we went over that? The pattern button right here. This pattern button selects different patterns. It's very sensitive, so when I turn the pattern knob right here, you can see it actually selects different patterns. That can be very useful for different people that put different stuff. Just switch the pattern very quickly. At the twist of a knob, I can switch from pattern 1 to pattern 2 to pattern 3, and so on and so on. Pattern 3, pattern 2, pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3. And I can go up very quickly. I can switch patterns at the touch of a knob. Alright, this is the swing button right here. I put the swing button on here. I made my swing universal on my template, so it's very important y'all see and understand this. The swing function is a function a lot of people don't use because the way Fruity Loops set it up. But the way I have it set up is on each channel you can see that if you click on it, the swing is actually turned up all the way on each channel. So as soon as I hit this knob, all the channels are going to start to swing, and I can specify which ones swing and not by turning up and down the swing right there. So this is the swing knob, and you can see I can turn the swing up and I can turn the swing down. Like I say, I made my swing universal on the template, so every channel has the swing specified. It's turned up. So as soon as you hit this knob, the channels are going to swing all together. We have this right here, which is the blend record function. I put this on here because this is a function you might be using. Let's say you recorded something and you want to record over it, not re-record it. You can just tap right here to enable the blend record. And as you can see, that it's turning on and off. What that does is if you recorded something, a pattern, and you wanted to add to the pattern, it'll actually record the notes on top of what you've already recorded instead of re-recording it all over and deleting what you had before. So I'm sure you're familiar with that, the blend record function. It's a good function to have at the tip of your fingers. Alright, we're moving down here to the step button. The step button turns on and off the step sequencer. You see it? The step sequencer, if you're not familiar with, a lot of people might use it. The step sequencer is how you can sequence out notes in the piano roll one by one. So you can actually tap the notes out, kind of like you would on a drum pad or a drum machine, and you can sequence them out one by one using the step sequencer. If you're not familiar with it, look into it. A lot of people program drums that way. It might be useful to you, but you can turn it on and off at the push of a button because I put this step button on there. This template, it's got a lot of functions. This is the pattern button right here. A lot of us, especially me when I first started out, I switched between pattern mode and song mode all the time. This is the pattern in the song mode button. You know, when it's in pattern mode, it plays your pattern. When it's in song mode, it plays, let me open up the playlist, it plays the song, you know, remember? I can push play from my machine down here and I can play it at any time. So this is the pattern button. It opens and it turns on and off song mode. Very useful button, something that we probably use all the time. Alright, so I went over the functions right there, but we're not done yet, and we got only a few minutes left. Alright, remember we have 4 different pages. This is page 1. When I click this button right here, it switches over to page 2. Alright, so we need to go over this. Page 2. Now you can't read it. It says solo on every button up here. 8 solos. Down here we have track numbers. Okay, this says track 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. These are the 8 tracks. I have 8 solo on and offs, and I have 8 volume adjustment knobs. For example, when I push the solo button for the track 16, you can see that track 16 solos on and off. So it is actually a mute button. Solo on and off, mute on and off. So I have a mute on and off switch for the 8 tracks that are available right there. Turning them on and off at the push of a button. And you can see it going on and off. Look right here. So that's the solo button. Kind of like a mute button. And then we have the volume, the track 16 all the way up to track 23. And we have the volume knob. So when I twitch the knob right here, you can see the volume going down on that channel. You see that little knob right there? It's going down. So this is the volume knob. I use this a lot when let's say I open up a plugin, it's playing way too loud. I just twist the knob real quick and I turn the volume of it down. So I would just click over there to where it says track, and then I would turn the volume knob down. So this is volume control and the solo mute on and off switch for the 8 tracks right there. This is page 2. Alright. Page 3. Page 3 has universal MIDI functions. For example, you can see up here I have sustain, legato, pedal, portamento, reverb, tremolo, chorus, and portamento. Okay, these are universal MIDI controllers, meaning that they're going to link up universally to whatever VST or plugin you're using. If it's not linking up universally, remember you can browse the parameters and make custom links. But for example, if you don't have a pedal, then you really can't sustain on the keyboard or your MK3. But you can actually trigger sustain in different MIDI functions using MIDI notes. For example, like, let me just go to this piano. I need to hurry up. Alright, this is the piano right here, right? And let me turn it on real quick and turn the volume up. So this is the piano, and if I hit a note, it doesn't sustain. I'm not hitting the pedal. But I don't need a pedal. I have a sustain button and also different functions. As you can see, the portamento, pedal, legato. So if I just push sustain right here, it's going to sustain the notes like it's as if I had a pedal. So these are universal MIDI controls. It has reverb, tremolo, chorus. The universal reverb MIDI control is set to right here. So depending on what plugin you have linked up, it's automatically going to link to the reverb on that plugin. This is page 3, the universal MIDI control functions. Alright, this is page 4. Page 4 is blanked out. The reason page 4 is blanked out is because you need a blanked out page. It hit me, and it's so important for you to have one. For example, let's say I have this lo-fi plugin right here, right? And I want to automate something, like I want to automate this noise button, right? I can link it to any of these. I can link it to one of these switches up here where I push down, or I can link it to a knob. Let's say I wanted to link that function right here to a knob. All I would do is I would just go to the plugin. Remember, you go to a plugin, you go to browse parameters. It shows you all the parameters that are available on that little plugin. You know what I'm saying? So you just go through it and you find the plugin, you know, the different one that you're looking for. So I don't even know what I'm looking for right here, but yeah, browse parameter. I can see right here. This one, I'm not really sure on this one. Yeah, that's weird. Alright, let me I'm just gonna show you here how I would link up. Oh, here it is right here. It's the first ones right here. Like let's say I wanted to link up this decimator. I would go to link to controller, I'd move the knob, and you can see right here that the decimator is now linked to my controller. And it's going to save that way when you save the project. So this is how you can make custom links to different effects and using the MK3 template on page 4. It's not going to affect anything else because it's on its own page. So this is the custom MK3 template. I just went over all the pages. I went over all the features. Another thing, when I push shift and I click on my templates, these are all the templates that are available in my template. We have all the scales in minor. We have template lack. That's the chromatic keyboard. That's the regular keyboard without the scales. Sometimes you might need that. I have all the scales in minor. But I also added a major scale, a blues scale, a pentonic scale, an Aeolian scale, and a Dorian scale. Okay, so we have all the scales there. The minor scales are linked out on every key, so I can switch between the keys, as you can see. The other ones, the Dorian, Aeolian, pentonic, blues, and the major, those are all set to the C scale, meaning that if I wanted to go ahead and I just opened up the pentonic right here, I could play the pentonic scale, and it would be in the C scale. If I wanted to change the key, I could always go to my little VST plugin, and I could just click right here and change the key, specifying what key or root note it's on. So I have all the scales right there. I'm going to go ahead and end the video because I'm running out of time, but I just went over everything, bro. That's all the features on the MK3 custom template. You get those 3 things, which is the Fruity Loops program, the Maschine program template, also the controller editor template, and you get all of these functions right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and all you have to do is you just click on which one you want, and you click load, and it loads